My guest today is Tomas K.B.KOLAWOLE. Before I met Tomas, we had several interactions regarding a recently successful event he managed. The event was the Africa Energy Week. This was an inaugural event. I was there myself, and I was in awe of the level of organization, turnout, and the high quality level of how the event was successfully executed by Tomas and his team. Tomas has had his run in leadership position in several international events, I must say. A resident of Argentina, Tomas spends a significant time in Africa in regards to his work. Well, I'll allow Tomas to tell us more about himself shortly. I am looking forward to learning more about Tomas's journey in the energy event space and what we can all learn from him. Myself, I'm Bimbola. I'm an energy analyst, a sales manager, and a data scientist. And I love spending time with friends and family when I'm not podcasting. Before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge the support of PaySop Invest, a global financial advisory and wealth management firm based in Germany, France, and Nigeria. If you're looking to create generational wealth and understand how to manage your finances, do contact the PaySop Invest team on paysopinvest.com and their Instagram page, PaySop Invest. They offer services to individuals and corporate bodies alike. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome you listeners to Empowered by BlueSitron, a podcast where we discuss lifestyle, culture, and more. So, Tomas, welcome to BlueSitron.
Hi, Bimbola. How are you? It's a pleasure to be
good.
Here.
Thank you. So, Tomas, tell us, how did you end up in the event space, and even more importantly, energy event space? Is this something you had always wanted to do, Tomas?
Oh no, far from it. You know how life. It's good that you started the introduction with the journey word, because I do believe life's a journey, and certainly mine has been up to this point. I'm a bachelor's in international relations and a master's in diplomacy. So when I started my professional career, at least my academic career, I was aiming to become a diplomat. For many years, that was my goal, and that journey took me to Azerbaijan, actually, where I did my master's program.
Yeah.
And there, that's when I started to get much more involved in the oil and gas sector, particularly in the energy sector. From there, I transitioned to the market intelligence realm. So I worked for many years for the oil and gas year, which is now the energy year.
Yeah.
And that's strengthening as well, not only my knowledge and involvement in the oil and gas particularly, but also in the general energy sector, but also brought me closer to Africa.
Right.
I did projects in Equatorial Guinea and in Angola. And then after my tenure with the oil and gas here, I moved to Africa Oil and Power, which is now Energy Capital and Power, who you know is one of the partners for the organization of African Energy Week, together with the African Energy Chamber. And that's when I started to get fully involved in the events and conference business in the energy sector. Before, with the oil and gas here, I had a bit of a flirting moment with smaller events. We would do roundtable discussions in some of these markets. So that's how I already started to get involved in the organization of a proper event, in the development of a program, in the branding. So the budgeting, which I hate personally, but it's the most important thing.
It is the most important.
It is the most important thing, which I hated. I like the fun part, of the content. I like the branding. And then I moved full on to massive events organizations, specifically in the energy sector, and mostly focused on the oil and gas sector at the beginning.
Yeah.
So with Africa Oil and Power, I was part of the core organization team for 3 very large events during 2019. First one was Apple's Producers Organization's 7th ministerial meeting and conference, which was organized in Malabo in Equatorial Guinea. Then we organized the first Angola Oil and Gas Conference and Exhibition in Luanda in June 2019. The first one was in April 2019. And then we organized the GCF Heads of State Summit and International Gas Seminar, also in Malabo in December 2019. So that was already a kind of trial by fire, if you can imagine.
Yeah.
Because we had to organize these 3 very different, in terms of approach, in terms of organization, in terms of scale events, and very complex on its own, as it is in terms of logistics, particularly of suppliers in cities like Malabo or Luanda, that are very challenging in many ways.
That is correct. I can attest to that. Yeah, especially with Luanda, because I haven't been to Malabo. I know Equatorial Guinea is Spanish speaking, but Angola is Portuguese speaking, together with their own original language. But yeah, I have been to Angola, Luanda 3 times, and yeah, it's a beautiful country. But yeah, it's not the easiest to get into.
It's an amazing country. It actually was my first experience with the continent. To be honest, when I was studying in Azerbaijan, we had a study trip, and since I was one of the only one actually that spoke Portuguese at the time,
yes,
I got sent to head the delegation to Angola, and thanks to that trip, that's when I also get my first posting with the oil and gas here. That was in Angola itself. And then when I started working at Africa Oil and Power, again, due to those previous experience, I got to lead the team for the Angola event, which was massively successful event, and was probably one of my personal one of my personal trophies, I would say, or one of my personal
shining moments.
Totally. It was an event organized as well in 6 months. We had the president himself to come. We had over 2,000 delegates. The CEO of Total, Patrick Pouyanné, came. 2 VPs from ExxonMobil, 2 VPs from Equinor. So it was a massively successful event, and it was something that the Angolan market, believe it or not, they had smaller conferences before that, mostly focused on local content or specific topics, but there was never a true national conferences, and that was something that Africa Oil and Power, and now Energy Capital and Power, saw a market in and really developed throughout the continent. And you would imagine that a country that is the 2nd largest producer in the continent would be already covered in that realm. But up to 2019, there was absolutely no major national conference. It was surprising. So that was an amazing experience. Probably one of the most stressful moments in my life.
I bet, yes.
But we left a mark in the country. There was a new event following up this year. Naturally, because of COVID, it had a different shape. But we have set a legacy that will carry on for several years.
Very good, very good. You know, Tomas, again, I was in Cape Town myself, and very pivotal role within the conference, basically as a delegate. So one thing I did see, you know, even prior to the event taking place, there was a lot of conversation, between us based on what I needed to do, representing my company. I'm not going to mention my company's name here. So, yeah.
Okay. No free ads.
Yeah. So, representing my company and all of that. So, a lot of back and forth between the both of us. What I wanted, the things that we needed to do, and, you also having to be firm to say, well, this is what you have agreed with, the ECP guys and all of that, and that is not translating to AEW. But even at that, the AEW is the Africa Energy Week, and regardless of that, I got into Cape Town and everything just went amazingly well. Now, you said something just now. The Angolan event, within 6 months, you guys put up, a smashing, successful event that even Angola, being the second largest producing nation, oil and gas producing nation in Africa, had never had something like that, which is mind-blowing. Now, 6 months, I noted that down, within 6 months. That is exactly the same that you guys have done with the Africa Energy Week. But this time around, you guys spent 4 months. Within 4 months, you have decided, I don't know where you guys are from. Honestly, I don't know what water you drink, what sun shines on you guys, but within a short space of time, event organizers spend a year or even plus to start planning, making things happen for an event that would just take maybe 3 days or 4 days or at most 5 days. But you guys seem to have a thing for 4 months, 6 months, and again, I was there. So I know how successful this event was. The turnout, all the ministers, well, maybe not all, but at least 10 ministers from mostly the African producing countries, they turned up. The NOCs, they were there in drive. They were there, a lot of them were there. The ministers and the NOC, the heads of departments and things like that, they came, but they did not just come, right? They were there till the end. Now that was interesting to me because I'd been to several energy-based events in South Africa, and yes, these guys come and then the next day they've already gone, or they come, they spend 2 days and then they're gone. They've gone back to their countries and all of that. But this time around, they stayed. So this leads me to my next question: how were you and your team able to successfully implement this this recently completed conference, which literally was just 2 weeks ago, the African Energy Week? What is it that you guys do? 4 months. I'm not sure you understand. You guys spent 4 months doing this. If anyone was there, anyone that listens to this podcast, and that person was there, I'm sure whoever listens to this would agree with me how successful that event was. But what was mind-blowing for me was the fact that it was done within 16 to 17 weeks. How did that happen? Tell me, Thomas, or tell us, tell us, the listeners, tell us.
I think, well, you nailed it there in the question. I think the fact that this was done in 4 weeks is one of the most, by far as well, one of the most impressive things that I've personally done and I've seen our team do. There was a joint effort between the African Energy Chamber, who led the way, who through the chairman and Ayuk, put up the idea as soon as the news that Africa Oil Week was moving to Dubai. The chamber took it to itself to make sure that the continent had an in-person event in the continent to discuss what the continent needed in terms of energy transition and reducing energy poverty. And I think that was the main drive for us to put up put the full force of the African Energy Chamber team and an Energy Capital and Power team, plus our we have amazing suppliers as well here in South Africa that have gone above and beyond, like Hot 3D or Gearhouse, as well the partners that we had as well. As you know, we work in the Victoria and the V&A waterfront in Cape Town, which just to brag a little bit more on this, but it wasn't only 4 months that we had to do, but it was also 5 venues that we actually needed to manage simultaneously to add a bit more complex to the endeavor. So I do think that we managed to pull this off because it was a tremendous team effort of several, led by the African Energy Chamber and Energy Capital on Power, but with a wide array of partners that jump on board immediately to the idea, to the message, to the goal. I think that was that was actually what pushed us, through sweat, blood, and tears, to make sure that we deliver, because we knew what we were doing was so much bigger than us. We knew that we knew how important this event was for the city of Cape Town. The city of Cape Town event industry suffered tremendously during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And this was the first massive event that happened in the city. And just like talking to our partners, talking at the waterfront, talking to our suppliers to see how thankful they were, how everybody was just so ready to collaborate, to jump on board, to give a hand, to go above and beyond. It was what drive us and what helped us as well, to carry the load and make sure that we managed to pull this off in such a little time. But with such a strong message,
absolutely,
which I think it's the core at what we did. I think that the key message of having an African discussion in Africa, specifically at the time when the whole energy transition dialogue, and specifically when COP26 was happening as well, which the panel actually that you moderated.
Yes.
I think it was so important to have a discussion at that time and in that continent. And like you mentioned, with the key actors that were that are part of that discussion. Having almost 10 ministers from producing countries. We had, I think, around 16 national oil companies. We organized one of the first national oil companies summit, which we will carry on to next year. Where we saw that in some parts, it was the first time that these national companies were all together in the same room, which is amazing as well to me. This hasn't happened before, and it has to happen at this time. And Africa needs to have a strong voice facing the energy transition movement, and it has to be respected, because the starting point and the needs of Africa are completely different to those of the North. And as you've seen, the main motto, perhaps, of the event was to end Africa's energy poverty.
Absolutely.
Which is 600 million people without access to energy. And
it's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing. 900 million of people without access to clean cooking.
It's crazy.
These are numbers that by itself force everyone involved in the energy sector to have a different approach. To have a different look, an innovative look, and a tolerant look, I would say. The conference itself was successful as well because, as we mentioned, these African governments saw the value of the platform that we built, of the message that we conveyed, which is the same message that they are conveying as well. Is respect our position, respect the resources that we have, respect our journey. A lot of these governments have made so much effort to develop their local industries, the local infrastructure, to develop oil and gas SMEs, which is fascinating. It's very uncommon in many parts of the world to have local industries actively being participants, to promote local content, to distribute the profits from the oil and gas sector to the whole population. And now in 2 years, this has become like a bad word, especially imagine like for coal producing countries like South Africa, for instance,
South Africa,
southern part of Africa. Platform is saying like the true goal for Africa is to end energy poverty. And after we finish that, we can look into other options of like decarbonization or just energy transition patterns. But at this stage, we need to look at the immediate problem, which is a problem that other continents don't have.
That is correct.
And I do believe that, and it's a very respectful way. It says like all sources of energy have their own value itself. All sources of energy apply differently to different countries, to different sort of industries. And we have to have an open conversation on enabling this variety of resources, this not infinite, but like tremendous amount of resources that the continent has, and ensuring that they are used, they're tapped into with the goal of eliminating something that should not exist in 2022. It's like now 600 million people without access to energy.
That is so wrong, you know, to not have access. 600 million. Yeah. That is a lot. That's almost 1 billion people. That is just it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that sort of that feeling that you just have, you know, that indignation, you know, that sense of we need to do something about this is what is the strength that drove as well our message. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that our message was one of the strongest elements on the success of the event and how we managed to pull this off in 4 months. It was our internal effort, our internal dedication to making sure this succeeded. The Chamber's extends network throughout the continent and throughout the world, to be honest.
Yeah.
That managed also to tap into partners from the US, from Europe, from the Middle East. But also that wide array of partners from governments, companies, organizations that saw the value of what we were doing and immediately jumped on board to support us.
That was just great.
That's how I think we managed to pull this off.
Yeah, that was really, really great. That was great. Again, you're right. It's the support, because all well and good, one could plan and then, you know, and try as much as possible to execute to the best possible way. But if there's no support, it makes the work more difficult. And, you know, you had that support. As you say, your chairman, NJ Ayuk, I saw a lot of his posts on LinkedIn prior to the event also. He was doing what I would call an intense business development, going to all these countries, traveling to all these countries and seeing all the ministers and maybe presidents even, you know, and selling the African story, you know, Africa for Africans. Of course, Friends of Africa are, you know, welcome you as a person. You are a friend of Africa, and you see where the challenges are, you know, with 600 plus people, you know, experiencing energy poverty. It is just wrong what the continent is going through and the rest of the world isn't. And that is why it seems as if the rest of the world can't seem to understand, you know, when this sort of conversation comes up. Why? Because they are not experiencing that same challenge.
Correct.
If you do recall, during my panel, actually, one lady actually stood up and talked about how the woman in the village is the one that experiences this the most, the energy poverty situation, and that needs to come to an end. Everyone should be able to have access to, you know, power in different levels, you know. What I mean by different levels is electricity, because once there's electricity 24/7, then you start to see economic development, you know, and social development.
Dignity.
Exactly. It's a basic human need, this having access to electricity, to power basically. But yeah, thank you, Tomas. Thank you very much. But you know, you also mentioned something about the event industry being hit significantly by the COVID-19 situation, and you know, the event hospitality and so many industries were hit. To be fair, but yeah, and do you see how that is picking up again as the world is opening up?
I think so. I think that there's never going to be a replacement for in-person events.
That's correct.
It's just we're humans. We need and want to interact with each other. I think that online events have been great as an auxiliary measure to keep everybody engaged, to build on relationships that cannot be done for one or another reason physically. But I do think that physical events are never going to be replaced. I think it's going to pick up. I think as vaccine campaigns move forward in different parts of the world, I think as best practices in terms of sanitation evolve throughout the world, and individual responsibility, has picked up everywhere. I think it's going to continue to improve. I think we're still far away from pre-COVID levels. I think, unfortunately, I think so. I think that still there's some wariness and there's still some evolution. Well, we're just learning about the news of the lockdowns going in Europe again. It will depend country to country, but each citizen as well depends as well on where it resides. And unfortunately, that goes sometimes beyond individual choice. So I do believe that it's going to pick up. I think that for next year, we are definitely going to have a better environment. But I think still that we're going to have to wait for a couple of years before hospitality, air travel, and massive events to reach a pre-pandemic level.
Right. So you say that. What do you then think is the future of energy events by your company?
well, we're on already for 2022.
Really? The Africa Energy
yes.
Week?
Of
You
course,
guys are ready for... Oh my God.
We're starting to work. The work never ends. We have a bigger job now to build on what we have created, to expand what we have created. I think that we have several elements that we will continue to push. We will continue to work under the Energy Village concept. As you have seen, this idea of having multiple venues to make sure that we still abide by COVID restrictions. Unfortunately, we still don't know how those restrictions will look in 1 year from now. But just in case, we will prepare for that, and we make sure also as well, besides COVID, I think what we brought as well was an innovative way of doing events. We brought an idea that people can maximize as well what they get from a conference. They don't have to sit through themes and panels that they are not interested in. They can just swap venues.
They can pick and choose, basically.
Pick and choose. This enables for a more tailored event for each delegate, and we had some really good feedback on this format. So we're definitely going to carry on with it. And in terms of topics, we're going to build upon what was discussed already. The goal carries on, 2030 elimination of energy poverty, and whatever we can do to help to build a platform for people to discuss this, for governments, companies, organizations to set this target. But we're building on some of the successes that we have. We announced the Africa Green Energy Dialogue and Summit. So this is going to be an innovative forum for all industries to come together, for including fossil fuels into the discussion on how to promote, to foster green energy in the continent in a just way, to include as well nuclear energy, which even in Europe remains on the borderlines. Nobody knows if it's green energy or it's not green energy. We believe every source of energy needs to be included in this green energy dialogue, because everybody can build upon each other. Gas providing hydrogen is just one of those examples, how there can be synergies between energies to help foster a greener world, lower emissions, but nobody has to be ostracized, nobody has to be demonized, because that's not how you create a dialogue. That's just one person with a megaphone telling you that they are true, and that's just not a dialogue. We're gonna keep on building on the NOC Summit We believe that we have created a new movement, a very important movement for African and international, actually, national oil companies to come together, to collaborate, to share experiences on how each one of them is facing the energy transition world. We want to include as well coal and nuclear energy into the discussion. We flirted with it during this conference, and we want to get full-on, a strong participation of the coal and the nuclear energy industries, because we believe they are key as well for the process that we're facing and for eliminating energy poverty in the continent. And we will build on more fun as well networking events, which we do believe are one of the things that people were missing the most. From physical events, just a good gathering, a good chance to network, to informally meet people.
Just have drinks and talk, and just in a relaxed environment. But then again, as you say, COVID allowed this sort of nice idea, but also COVID also sort of made people be mindful of the fact that after the each day's activity, everyone can just congregate in one place, so
correct. But then again, I think we have seen a lot of individual responsibility from people. I think as you know, we set up mandatory testings on the before joining the event. We had mandatory masks as well. We had sanitizing posts all around the venues, and Bimbola, before the event we did around 2,000 tests. We did more than our delegates because of our suppliers as well, and our some of the people working from the city, and we had only one positive case. And you believe that, which was rapidly identified. He was asked not to participate in the event. Of course, he understood, and absolutely nothing happened. We're already 2 weeks from the event, and we have passed the incubation stage, and we have had absolutely no positive case of COVID.
Impressive.
So we are so proud of everyone working in this. And everybody that participated. It wasn't just us, it was we came out to our delegates, to our partners, to our sponsors, to ask for responsibility, to ask for tolerance, and absolutely we had an amazing feedback. Everybody understood what needed to be done. Nobody complained about the testings or the mask rules. Everybody understood what we're trying to do and the importance of taking care of each other. And that's how we managed as well to make this event successful.
Honestly, I'd been to so many events. I'd not seen something so well coordinated, so well organized, as this one was. Given that, the birth of the energy village, with the different points of places for discussion, panel discussions, and each point, each particular venue, each venue actually had everything that the main venue also had, meaning refreshment, drinks, everything, food, someone was asking me how was it, and I said, well, I've been to events, I've been to quite a number of energy events. This was different, and it wasn't a case of just eat snacks and nibbles and move on. No, proper food and different types of food. In fact, one of the sessions I remember, we were told to just go for lunch at the One and Only, and I'm thinking, wow, this Africa Energy Week guys have gone far and beyond to have lunch at One and Only. There are only 5 One and Only hotels in the world, and One and Only was one of the venues of the conference. And to just strut into the restaurant area to have lunch, and I just thought, okay, and I had a good time. The food was delicious. And the following day I was at the Avenue. The food was great. There was drinks. One thing that struck me, there was a particular company. I thought that was an alcohol company, but no, it was, I think they're into consulting or something. And
yes.
I don't know if that was the CEO there, but they had their own corner, like a proper bar. Whatever drink you wanted was there. I was amazed. Even though, of course, I only asked for Coca-Cola. I mean, boring me. Boring me.
You're still on the clock.
Boring me. But I mean, to be honest, after a while, I went back and I was like, I'd like to have a glass of red wine, please. And then the guy gave me all the options. And I said, I'm in South Africa. Just give me South African red wine. And I'm good with that,
You can't go wrong with South African red.
I tell you, that was super interesting because I've gone for so many events. I'd not seen that before, So what I'm essentially saying is it's not just the organization of stuff of the event, but it was something that you mentioned, the support, the support as well. And obviously all these companies are also, promoting their own companies and their own brand, but it was just mind blowing. But anyway, I have one important question.
Sure.
So far, with all what you've done, what has really helped you most in your career?
I thought long and strong on this. Honestly, two things. One a bit more technical, and another one a bit more sentimental. Mm-hmm. On the technical side, I would say languages.
Okay.
I feel that getting to speak several languages has been a door opener on so many professional and social ways.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to manage to focus on learning several languages that helped me throughout my career, and that to be able to pick up new languages when it was needed in different places. And when you speak someone their language, and when you come from a land so far away, like Argentina is for Africa, or for Azerbaijan, as I mentioned, where I lived many years, and you manage to speak the local language, such a barrier drops down, Mm-hmm. People can understand the effort and they feel more at home with you. And that also helps to build stronger ties with people that naturally have a ripple effect into either business or social life.
Yeah.
I've always said that I had the luck and the preparation to speak a language when it was needed, to be posted in places where my language skills were valued and where they had an immediate impact on the project that I was leading. And on the sentimental part, I do believe that, like you mentioned, spending time with family and friends. It's a bit corny, perhaps, but it's a very strong and core part of my personality and my beliefs. Especially having lived abroad or having a life internationally for the past 10 years, I would say. I always made the effort of going back home, spending time with my family, spending time with my friends, making sure I'm part of their life and they're part of my life. I'm outside a screen. And I think that's the emotional strength, or that's the emotional recharge that everybody needs to have in their lives. I remember during the conference, man, I was running, and you saw me. Like I was running. I was running. You barely saw me, but it's a better phrasing, because I was running around everywhere, putting out fires and helping out people. But one of the few panels that I actually took to myself and said, like, no, I'm gonna sit down. I organized all this. I'm gonna sit down. I'm going to enjoy. Was the interview with Clarence Seedorf.
Oh, yes.
Football legend Clarence Seedorf.
Yes.
And it was it was so amazing just to have him come and support the event and take some time. He was in the awards dinner, and then he had a one-on-one interview with NJ Ayuk.
Yes.
And NJ was asking him, so like, no, actually it was a question from the audience, which was even more interesting. Somebody asking, what kind of advice would you give to someone in the business, based on your knowledge on sports? What advice would you give to someone in the business sector, starting in the energy business sector? And clients would go and say like, listen, when we train in football, we spend more time thinking about our post-event recovery or post-match recovery than on the actual match. The time that we need. And it was so true, you know, it's like all this time to like think about recovery, taking your time. And he said, like, I came into the business sector and that is not being discussed, you know, the burnout level, the level of sheer commitment to something without acknowledging mental health or physical health sometimes is just unsustainable. And
absolutely.
And I had many times where working in projects, you know, working on a project basis, it's very easy to burn out because you said, okay, I'm going to give everything I have for this amount of months and then I'm going to relax. But then you're so burned out that it's impossible. Like the recovery time is so long that it takes you a while to pick up the game and be back on your feet for the next project. So I think like it's been very important for me in the last couple of years to actually make the mindful choice of resting, or of enjoying family and friends, of respecting my own time and my own mind and my own body, because I know that's how I perform the best.
Right.
And I think those were the two elements that have helped me the most in my career so far.
Oh, good stuff. Thanks for sharing that. You know, I'm going to do a bit of, what's the word? What we term familiarization. During the gala night, that was when I saw Clarence Seedorf. I didn't even know it was there because obviously we were doing our own presentation in one of the other venues, the hydrogen and also energy transition piece. And so during the gala night, I then saw, that was when I saw Clarence Seedorf. I didn't know his wife. But after the dinner and when the music started, you know, the South African band, you know, when they were playing and all of that, performing rather, Werner was dancing, and Werner is one of the top guys at the Africa Energy Chamber. Yeah. So I joined him on the stage, dancing and celebrating, you know, the success of the very first day of the event, of course. Yeah. And of course, I'm in Africa, I'm in motherland, I'm African. I can't let the music waste. So I started dancing. And then Elizabeth Rogo, also, who's one of the board members of Africa Energy Chamber, dressed as the queen that she is, she also got on stage. And it was three of us and another friend of Elizabeth Rogo. I can't remember the lady's name now, a very pretty white lady. And someone said, Werner, what are you doing on the stage with all these gorgeous women? And he's like, I'm the king. Okay, you know, let's have and then suddenly from somewhere, some people came with their phones and camera and everything to take photos. And there was this lady just standing right in front of us, you know, and she, you know, she was looking at us and smiling. And someone just said, oh, come on stage and join us and let's take a photo together. So she stood just next to me, held and we all just took photos and, you know, continued dancing. And then it was much later I heard that was Seedorf's wife. I said, oh. Right. I said, oh, okay. It's nice to have a photo with the wife of a legend. It would be nice to have one with the legend himself. But I didn't.
Can you imagine that I didn't get my photo with him?
Oh, no.
After all this work.
Make sure it happens next time. Oh, thank you, Tomas.
They were honestly amazing, honestly.
Oh, they really were.
They stayed for the dinner till late.
Interesting.
They came the next day and they stayed for several panels besides his own interview. It was such a great endorsement and so fulfilling to see that what we were doing was respected from people even outside the industry, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, you know, that is actually quite key for people outside the industry, you know, to have their endorsement, to have their support. And I actually just thought, okay, yes, this guy, you know, he came for the dinner, the gala nights, you know, the glitz and glam side of things. But then when I realized the guy was still around the next day and the day after, I was like, okay, this is really nice. This is a solid endorsement by, you know, a football legend. So really, really impressive, really. But Thomas, I'm not going to let you go without asking this question.
Go.
Are you a mentor, or has anyone approached you to mentor them? Because you seem to have it going great for you. You've got to be mentoring someone.
Honestly, I have not so far. Or if I have, I haven't done it on purpose.
Right.
No, unfortunately not. I would love to. I think I'm also like a bit humble. I can give some. I feel I can give some bits of advices based on my own life.
Yeah.
But I have been mentored before. I really take NJ Ayuk as a true mentor. I've known him for several years, and always.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the same country, sometimes oceans apart. But his words, he always have the right guidance, the right outlook for me and for my career. And I would love to at one stage be able to give that back and help someone on the tracks. But I guess I'll still wait for that moment.
It's going to happen. Before you know it, I bet when people listen to this, they'll be like, oh my God, who is this guy? He needs to mentor me. How is he able to, he and his team, how is he able to lead a team for them to be able to pull off events in 6 months, in 4 months? Who are they? How do they do this? So definitely just look forward to that. People are going to be knocking on your door for mentorship very soon. Thomas, you know what? We could continue forever and ever having this, discussions and more. But, as everything that has a beginning must have an end. So thank you so much for your time today. I really, really enjoyed our conversation. And I bet people that are listening now or would listen at some point to this podcast will get the same benefit as well. And I encourage them to you listeners, I encourage you to drop your comments when you do get to listen to this. Drop your comments, ask questions, and, I'm sure Thomas and myself will be happy to answer some of the questions that you may have. And if anyone wants, more questions or thoughts about, mentorship, wants to have a career within the event space, wants to learn diplomacy even, feel free to reach out, because Thomas is an all-round package. He's got it all.
Thank you very much for the time, Bimbo. It was such an absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate you giving us the platform as well, and being a good friend of African Energy Week. And thank you as well for just a tiny space to tell my journey.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. Well, a big thanks to our listeners, and until next time, it's Bim or Bimbola, whichever one you would love to call me. It's been from BlueSitron, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.